Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Podcast. Continuing to pick apart Raw and SmackDown, most recent Saturday night's main event, and moving into Royal Rumble this Saturday. And so there's been a lot of crap released in regards to the Royal Rumble and all of that schmalarkey. And I have tried my best to pretty much avoid those videos and all those pictures that get released over social media, basically trying to taint the Royal Rumble. Um, so because I want to watch it and legitimately be, entertained by it. I think the only people that leak those photos are the ones that are in Saudi, and so I don't think I don't think the green shirt guy is over there in Saudi right now snapping photos for us. Okay, so
Right.
um, just want to get that out the bag.
So
Um,
stop leaking stuff, right? Is that what?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it ruins it for everyone that stuff gets released like that, and then just everybody just runs to the rumor mills about it, and oh, there's this person on there, and there's this person on there. One that those pictures are very grainy and very generic and shadowed. So unless you're physically there and you're zooming in on these things, it can be interpreted however it wants to be. So, but I digress. So on Raw this past week, we get uh, Gunther coming out and doing what Gunther does, and so we get AJ Styles coming out and them having a brief spat, and basically all in all ends in AJ Styles wanting a match with Gunther and basically saying like, "Hey, you can put your career on the line," which isn't obviously far fetched because we knew that AJ was being done with wrestling and everything this year. I don't think like the stuff that got leaked by Shinsuke really is anything but a play. I don't see Shinsuke sitting in the back going on Twitter and doing posts like this. I just don't see it. So however it plays out, I'm good with. I honestly I don't see this as AJ Styles' last hurrah. But obviously if it happens, it's kind of a long-term storybook where AJ came in 10 years ago at the Royal Rumble,
Yep.
and then he can finish at the Royal Rumble, which is completely fine with me. But I honestly would like to see, AJ do a couple more fantasy booked matches, but either way, I will respect the career of AJ Styles. So,
Same. Yep.
um, so we we get the run back match between Becky Lynch and Maxine Dupree, and it ended just about as much as you could possibly predict. Because you obviously seen over the last couple, months, you had Maxine Dupree training with Natalia, and so you obviously seen the emergence of Maxine Dupree and being a better wrestler, a better entertainer, and all that. And so basically the tail end of the match, you basically get Maxine Dupree basically pinning, Becky for the win, and then Natalia outside puts Becky Lynch's leg on the rope, and that ends in a whole bunch of confusion. And then obviously finishes with Becky giving Maxine Dupree the manhandle slam and retaining. And I think this is a good kind of work in the sense of now we're going to see Natalia and Maxine Dupree have a couple match, you know, squabble, and so I think this is only going to make Maxine Dupree better. literally working with one of the biggest OGs in women's wrestling in Natalia. So I think this is good for, the long term for Maxine Dupree and having some good matches with Natalia. I look forward to what they do with this. And again, I'm all for it. I think this is only going to better Maxine Dupree in the long run.
Yep. I
Um,
would agree. Yeah, definitely.
so we get again these weird matches with the Vision, but we get Rey Mysterio, Penta Dragon Lee versus Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, and Austin Theory. And I mean, it's honestly about what you would expect of this match because the Vision's underhanded tactics and all that hoopla. Um, and so obviously Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee, and Penta obviously get the win, which doesn't tarnish the Vision right now. Just because the Vision obviously is still really in the beginning stages of what they are. Right. So, there's plenty of time for them to establish dominance, and all of that. So, so man, the women's tag team division honestly is on fire right now, which I'm all about. I think it's good for business, and obviously we get Rio coming out and everything, and then you get Liv and Roxanne followed by Raquel, and basically beating the crap out of them as literally the recipe is made. So all to lead up to the match between Liv and Raquel versus Rio at Saturday night's main event. And so I think this happens about every time. But so we have seen the emergence of one Javon Evans, and honestly, like, young OG is literally is best you can put it. I mean, it takes some people a long time to develop and create a persona and being able to be efficient in the ring. And I mean, Javon Evans legitimately came in and did maybe a year and a half in NXT before he got put to the main roster.
Right.
And go ahead.
So just a little backstory. Javon Evans started his pro wrestling journey like a Rey Mysterio Jr. and like a lot of the luchadors at 14. So, to give context, he's 21, 22 now. So what 6 years of already in the business, and you add a couple of years of NXT developmental training and lessons learned from him. I would dare to say he's a prodigy. I mean, it's some people like to sling that around, a lot when they see someone, young, doing, carrying themselves like a veteran in the ring. But, when you have parents that are like 100% behind you, and you have an entire community and family like saying, yep, you should be doing this. This is what you should be doing. And you get the opportunity at 14 to, pursue something that you're passionate about. These are some of the outcomes that you get. You get a Javon Evans, that's 21. I would say by the end of the year, he's a world champ. He's carrying a championship. I was about to say world champion. I don't know if
they will overshoot it.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll give him the Randy Orton rub, but he's got singles championship written all over him.
Yeah, and it's crazy too, is because I religiously watch NXT, and so like I've seen how a lot of these performers on NXT play out, and I mean he's surpassed like 90% of the people in NXT. and it's been fun to watch because you have some of these wrestlers that have been in NXT like a JC Jane that have been there for 4 years, dude, and she's never amounted to anything but being only on NXT. And you have, I mean, most of the NXT roster obviously they're on the rise because obviously NXT are getting called up to the main roster, and so you're getting some evolved wrestlers onto the NXT roster,
Hmm.
and but then you still have these wrestlers that never break the mold beyond being NXT.
Yeah, some
And
just can't get it. Yeah,
it's really kind of like, I don't know if it's just their effort or their character building process, or I don't know what it is, but like some of them just don't break the mold, and it's been insane to that. Here comes Javon Evans winning the breakout tournament and literally starring in out the gate, coming out strong.
right.
And so it's been an absolute pleasure to watch, someone literally break the mold. And yeah, so but he has a match with El Grande Americano, and obviously with El Grande tactics with having Rayo and whatever Rayo, what other freaking Bravo Americano obviously on the outside, obviously helping. So obviously Javon Evans does take an L, but again, this is literally kindergarten level right now for Javon Evans. He has a very, very long career ahead of him. I mean, you're going to see this guy in 15, 20 years being top dog.
Yeah.
So, um, so the week prior, obviously, we had CM Punk and Finn Balor have, a chat. And CM Punk's like, well, I'll rest you tonight. And Finn's like, well, no, I'm good. We can do this in Belfast, which is where Raw was. And honestly, this match did not disappoint. It was a good straight up match. There was no Judgment Day. There was no outside anything. This was just a good straight up match between CM Punk and Finn Balor. And obviously at the end of it, obviously CM Punk does get the win, but like it's refreshing to see Finn Balor without Judgment Day. He brought back his old entrance music, which, oh my gosh, was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, literally the amount of praise online, across any wrestling podcast, any person that does like little clips or anything, like, is all nothing but love for Finn Balor. And I think, you've been seeing a massive heel to face turn from Finn Balor over the last, maybe couple weeks. And I really think that, I mean, this is what we've been waiting for. And I really, at the end of the match, there was a shine of respect between CM Punk and Finn Balor. I mean, there was no heel anywhere near that match. And so I think this is step one into Finn Balor finally leaving Judgment Day and doing what Finn Balor was made to do, and that's to win championships, not be part of some group like Judgment Day. Obviously, he was a Bullet Club member, but like that was a different monster compared to Judgment Day. So, Judgment Day is just kind of a bunch of freaking goons
Mhm.
that just have a number of advantages. So,
Yeah.
um, so SmackDown, we had SmackDown back in North America, and it was in Canada, and so the show obviously kicks off obviously with Sami Zayn, and I love Sami Zayn. I think you have someone that's been doing this for a long time, and he's had very little championship opportunities or anything, but he's always been ever the showman. Um, and obviously putting on great matches, having a long career, and you know, he's done things independently. He's done stuff with Kevin Owens. He's done stuff with the Bloodline. I mean, whatever they have him do, he's like, all right, you know, in so this is it's nice to see someone like Sami Zayn that has literally just taken whatever WWE's asked him to do, and he's done it very well. But so we get Trick Williams coming out to interrupt Sami Zayn, followed by Damian Priest, and just a good old brawl as they literally do all the time, anyways. But yeah, and so our first actual match of the night was the Open Challenge, and I don't like that it's not even an open challenge anymore. They're literally telling us, and I don't like having an open challenge that's planned. And obviously not all of the open challenges have been.
One could say that they're all planned, but I digress. I
mean, just like I don't want a backstage segment and be like, "Oh, let's win."
Do you think that what they're doing is saying like the open challenge is because it's unbooked and it's just whoever gets out to the ring, that's who's going to take the match? Or would you rather have someone claim an open challenge spot that night?
I want it to be random. I want it to be random, at least for our viewing pleasure. Because Carmelo and Ilya Dragunov have ran this back before, and so I don't want to see the same people again. I don't want this to fall into the repetition that, like with the Women's United States Championship, that whole crew of people to be the same people all the time. I mean, realistically, it's the same with the Intercontinental too. Like, I don't want these to just be, this is what we're doing with the same 5 people. I want some randomization. I want to see new wrestlers. I want to see fresh opportunities. And we're not really getting that. It's getting to the point now where it's like we're getting vanilla pudding, okay? Like, and I when Sammy, after Sammy, faced John Cena and everything, for the Intercontinental and all that, and then he started doing the open challenge, it was very prestigious, it was random, and it was more exciting to see who would show up. And now it's gotten to the point where the open challenge is pre-planned, and as opposed to him going to the ring and then just having some random person show up, like a person from NXT or a person from another brand or whatever. Like, let it be.
And maybe those things will happen. As you saw with this run back between Hayes and Dragunov, the Miz got involved, which I'm starting to like really get on your bandwagon of just give me some clean matches, no outside interference. I don't think the Miz interfering in this match does anything for the legitimacy of Carmelo Hayes being a United States champion. And it reeks of the sabotage trope in WWE. You know what I'm saying? So the Miz can be buddy with Carmelo Hayes and then attack him and then ultimately get the championship, right? I don't want to see that anymore. I want to see, especially for like the open challenge matches, let them be clean matches, clean wins. No interference, no outside shenanigans. They don't need them.
Well, the only tactics that I want to be seen is what back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s was underhanded tactics by the performers, not outside interference.
Yeah.
You have these wrestlers that have made it their goal to basically win conniving, your Ric Flairs, your Eddie Guerreros, where it was their own underhanded tactics
Mhm.
to win championships, lie, cheat, or steal. It doesn't, that mentality. But right now, it's just like it's just we're overloaded with outside interference, and
Mhm.
it's getting very predictable. It's getting very mundane, and let's just you know have the wrestlers do underhanded tactics. We don't need all the outside crap. And I get it. It somehow for storyline purposes. I mean, now, you know, does this whole thing with the Miz, is this going to be something where we're going to get like a triple threat between the Miz, Carmelo, and Ilya? Because, Carmelo being, the face-ish character now, like, oh, I won, but I didn't like how I won. And then you have, him maybe face Miz or something, or I don't know. But like they're circling the wagons with the same stuff, same wrestlers in these pictures, and I just want to see fresh, man. Like, and we talked last week, and I was like, oh man, it's starting to look better. But that was literally for like the European tour, and then we come back to North America, and we're back to the same boring. Like why does it take you going to Europe to make things interesting, and then you come back here and you just return us to the
Yeah. Just to like answer a rhetorical question, I mean, I think they do it to make WWE special for European tours. And because those audiences don't get WWE every week live. You know what I'm saying? It's like once a year. They go over, go to the European countries and just 3 weeks of just balling out, just having a good time, putting on really interesting stories that ultimately lead us up to WrestleMania season. All these stories and changes and things setting up are leading us up to Royal Rumble, which is the kickoff to WrestleMania season. Let's go. If that's what it takes, every 6 or 7 months, send their butts back over to Europe, give us some interesting stories, come back, play out those stories until the next time they do a European tour. That's what they want to do.
Yeah.
So,
and it's like clearly they can put compelling stories together. So why don't we get it? And it's like this whole controversy now with them doing the WW Unreal thing on Netflix, and it really tarnishes the product. I think the documentary, honestly, it gives you a backstage pass to how unrealistic like everything is. And I mean, obviously it's called WWE Unreal. I get it. But
you know what? I would love to find out that it's a big work. I mean, just, in the same vein as like The Office, where they like had cameras in an office documenting the day to day with interviews and stuff like that. I would, if someone said like, oh, it's scripted, this is what's planned or whatever have you, we're not really telling, it's fine. Kayfabe's dead. Long live kayfabe. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. WWE trying,
yeah, I don't know. Like I've watched both seasons, and it's like it's cool in the sense to like see, like how things go as far as like creative wise, but it's like now we're getting a look at the fact that we have shitty product. It's not just Triple H. It's Michael Hayes. It's Paul Heyman. It's Road Dogg. It's all these guys in the back doing these things, and so now it's like, so is this Triple H making these documentaries just so we can spread the blame? Like,
Yeah.
like,
You know what? Here's my controversial hot take, opinion, theory, whatever have you. I don't think Triple H is really calling the shots at the end of the day. I think it's from over his head that's calling these creative shots, in the sense of like, hey, the network wants to see this, and this. Make it happen. And he's like, I don't have no creative for that, and that. It's like, well, that's what you got to do, bro. Bye.
I mean, it's like plausible deniability.
Yeah.
For Triple H to be like, yeah, that wasn't me, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's like, yeah, I'm taking everybody else's advice. It would probably give it away that it is a work if they if they were like going over scripts and there's like, oh, we got to film something for the documentary for Unreal. They blurt that out, Otherwise, I'm just waiting for them to pan over to Triple H in one of those episodes, and he's just shaking his head. It's like, God, I hate Nick Khan.
Well, I will say it is like, well, and it's cool to see, like, I mean, I will say, I like the documentary in the sense of like them kind of, they have spots that they have to have them hit, which we already knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that a lot of the match is kind of improvisation, and they have spots they have to hit, and sometimes they don't work out. And it, like, the craziest thing about the documentary is the fact that they swear a lot.
I mean,
a lot.
Like yeah, because
a lot.
It's
they say fuck so many times. It is freaking mind blowing.
A
bunch of freaking sailors back there, man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I would not be surprised if they, Netflix has got to start bleeping them out, because it's,
it was like over the top. Like, I get it. You guys have conversations and back and whatever else, but man.
When you can't say it on TV, it's got to get out somehow. They can't.
Some Netflix F-bombs and WWE. Make that a documentary.
Yep. Why we get to cuss so much behind the curtain, but we can't cuss so much, in the ring.
Exactly. Some like 10-year-old kids like, yeah, I want to watch WWE Unreal on Netflix.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely.
I do not recommend this. So back to SmackDown, but so we finally see Jade Cargill have a match, a non-title match, of course, because she wants to keeps the streak of not defending her title, but it has basically another squash match with Chelsea Green, which I think is insulting to Chelsea Green's ability. And obviously after that we get Jordynne Grace coming out, and it's like, so someone did the math, and I think you're the one that sent me that Reddit thing about that Chelsea Green, since her title reign, has had matches all combined for like 7 minutes and like 55 seconds or something.
Yeah.
And like I was saying in the group chat, is that it waters down her view of dominance, because you're not having these dominant anythings with anybody big, anybody top tier, hell, anybody mid tier. B-Fab is literally a nobody, no offense, but she's really a nobody. Michin, has always been mid card at best, unfortunately. And so, and then you come up to the mid tier a little bit with Chelsea Green, who I think is honestly one of the best performers. And and then you have a squash match with her, and it's just like, when are they gonna cut anything loose? Like, it's killing her championship reign, like, that she's not defending it. She's not having good matches where there's a probability of her losing her championship, any of that. And like I was saying in the group chat, is that like, there's every other title in WWE, including NXT, has been defended in the time that Jade has been champion and not defended it.
I like those links that I sent. Some of it could be that they're hiding her inability to break another plateau that she's on while she's champion. Another could be, which I'm hoping for, is that it is they don't have any creative, and like you were alluding to on previous podcasts, that they're waiting on Bianca Belair and her very messed up finger, which you can't do a lot with a messed up finger. That's been broken in a couple of places, and it's not healing very well. So maybe it's a combination of both. Maybe it's just the creative that they're doing to make her look like a very entitled champion. And I know I've mentioned it. It's like they do that. They will, like, make a champion take all the entitlements that they possibly can to make them look more heelish.
But like, if you look at, like, even Roman Reigns, his run, right? He didn't defend it that often, but he was subjected into storylines at least.
This is now a storyline for her, between her and Jordan Grace. This is now a storyline. We don't have to wait. For a storyline.
But like, this whole thing has not been anything but a talking point, because we haven't, it's not like they're like, okay, well, all right, Jordan, you can get a title match at Royal Rumble. Jade's not defending. She didn't defend it. She didn't have any match. She didn't have a match at Saturday Night's Main Event. She doesn't have a match for Royal Rumble. And I just give her matches against relevant talent that, keep her entitled momentum going, because, when you don't have matches, like, you're a paper champion. And
that is, that's been, a position that you've taken. I am just sitting here thinking, as you're explaining it, is that for a casual viewer, they're like, well, why isn't she defending a championship? For the more casual viewer, they wouldn't know, like, historically WWE has had a 30-day defense rule. And it seems like to me that within the last 2 or 3 years, they've done away with that. They just haven't made like an announcement, and it's more along the lines of a UFC rules or MMA rules, where you defend it when you feel like it, or you defend it when it's a match, when it's a good match for you. Maybe that's something that they're moving to. Or maybe it's everything. Maybe it's just everything. It's just like, and if it wasn't Jade, it would be Chelsea, right? So let's say Chelsea had it and they gave the same booking that for Chelsea, barely defending the title, not defending the title. Let's just say not defending the title for 80 plus days, having 1 or 2 non-title matches and having them be squash matches at that. There should be, and there must be, the same criticism.
It's a lot of it goes back to what I've said before, is that she's not a secondary champion. She's not a mid-card champion. She is the top tier champion. And I don't feel like, you know, call it, this is her entitlement, whatever.
Mhm.
I just think it's WWE completely just literally just giving her a shitty run.
You know,
And I think
yeah.
that their lack of investing in her, and I know that you like, I don't even care if you're waiting for Bianca to come back. Like, I understand that you might not have anything, but she's the top tier champion. Y'all better get something, because whether you're a casual fan or you're a fan of me, Tim, more watching everything live and everything, stature, is that like it looks shoddy, it looks boring, it looks stale. You're not doing anything for the fans that maybe they've been fans of Jade Cargill since AEW days, and they look at how she was there and she was more dominant. And now you've seen her on this run for the last 2-3 years with WWE, and when she was, we had talked how stiff she was, and we went through all that changes, and then she got injured, and then we've seen her rebuild herself and come back, and then she was better, and then all of a sudden we see her thrust into the championship picture, and now we're at a standstill with our view of Jade Cargill's dominance. And I mean, not to you know beat a dead horse, but like, I want to see more. And you know it was the same thing I said about Jey Uso, right? About being main event Jey Uso and all that, is that until you break the actual mold of being main event Jey Uso, like, you know, I really want to see you get to that upper echelon. And right now with Jade, it's we're at an impasse. We're on the third floor of the elevator playing elevator music, and we're going up one level a week. And I just want to see her breakout, because I know she has it,
Mhm.
and WWE is really diminishing her by doing what they're doing. And it's creative. It's not her. I don't fault her directly.
Right.
It is WWE literally barbecuing her career right now by not having her do anything. But I digress. Um, we could talk about hours for that. But so we finally actually see a title match between the MFTs and the Wyatt Six, and this match was chaos from the gate, just like every other time when you get these big groups out there and you have so much outside stuff going on, and you end up seeing the MFTs defeat the Wyatt Six and Dexter Loomis and Joe Gacy. And man, I really think that these massive factions having have tag team matches when everybody's out there, it lives up to the mundane expectations of how the match goes. The outside interference and all this hoopla going on. We can't just have a straight up tag match. Like, I don't like, because even with the Judgment Day with being tag team, like, there might have been like one or two people at ringside, whether it was a Liv Morgan or whatever. And this is just that same recipe, and that's the same, and now that the Wyatt Six aren't champions, what does that mean for them? And I don't know what it means. I
They go back to being a spectacle. They go back to just doing obscure Bray Wyatt homages, and
well,
yeah,
but Solo still has the lantern, so obviously this is I think we get a Solo Sokoa Uncle Howdy match at
There's got to be
WrestleMania
there's
at
got to be,
WrestleMania for
and
the
they've got to build that up. They've got to build that up. Don't put two sub mid carders in a match at WrestleMania without an incredible build. You've got to give both of them time. And Soa Sokola holding a tag team gold does not do anything for me.
no.
No. So
But I think honestly the whole lantern thing, I feel like, because we haven't really seen Uncle Howdy in a singles match. So I think maybe we get something down the road of a match between Uncle Howdy and Solo Sokoa. A lantern on a pole match or something, like and something of that caliber. Just because like that's what leaves it open ended is the fact that the lantern Solo Sokoa still has. So, but next match, Nathan Frazier versus Johnny Gargano. Nothing really to cover there. Again, a good filler match. And then we get the emergence of Drew McIntyre doing what Drew McIntyre does. And I love Drew McIntyre as champion because for the most part, he's very genuine in the things that he says. It's believable, the frustration he's had, getting back to winning the championship. And, he's a scary dude. So I don't know. We basically have we had the fatal 4-way at Saturday Night's main event to determine his opponent. We'll get to that, but so we get Julia and Kiana James versus Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss and Nia Jackson Lash Legends for a number 1 contenders for the women's tag team championships. And my issue with Nia Jackson Lash Legend is that they beat the Kabuki Warriors back before they won and never got a title shot.
maybe there's a there's gonna be massive like title shots, and
I think we see a 5-person match of some capacity. I think it would be honestly insane if you did if you did like a 5 tag team match for like a ladder match at WrestleMania for the women. That'd be insane. I don't think they would do it because I think they would have some seriously hurt women, but but like, but we're definitely going to see something in that regards. Probably into WrestleMania. We're definitely going to see something big for WrestleMania in regards to the women's tag team division because it's hot.
Yeah.
But Kiana James and Julia obviously get the win, and so I don't know exactly. I might just be the match next week or something. Maybe we see it at Royal Rumble. I don't think they officially really said anything.
It can be anytime. I think the outcome will still be the same, that Rhea and Io, hold on to those tag team championships until WrestleMania.
Yeah. So I mean, we don't really. Yeah, they haven't really released much on when that match is going down. It could just be on Friday this week, but we're literally on the cusp of Royal Rumble. So I mean, it's going to be a busy week, and I think that we're going to get a lot of stuff, this week on Raw and SmackDown, probably NXT too, leading up to Royal Rumble on Saturday. So I look forward to getting back next week and having a lot to pick apart. So
right, yeah, it's going to be a good weekend next weekend. So Saturday night main event for January 2026. What happened, bro?
So Saturday night's main event. Oh man, like they had the first match. Basically, it was going to be Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu, and it just ended up being a brawl. And I know we talked about beforehand, and you know basically kind of agreeing with how it went, me kind of saying I kind of didn't, and so like what are your thoughts on like did like this brawl, was it good, was it fine?
I think it was
You know?
fine. I think it just sets the stage for a bigger story depending on who you're rooting for. Like, you want Cody to overcome the odds to get that championship back. But he's already declared for the Royal Rumble, and he's already won the last two Rumbles.
Yeah.
So there's that. If you're on team Jacob Fatu, you really want an amazing showing, and you want him to be presented strongly. Even if he doesn't win, he still stands tall over both of them. So he has some bragging rights in the future to say, like, I beat up both of y'all, and I should be next in line for a championship match. And then you have, Team Drew McIntyre. You want him to have a championship run that he should have had 4 or 5 years ago when he first won that championship, but because it was the pandemic era and people were on lockdown, you couldn't see those wins, you couldn't get into the crowds and that sort of thing. It was a different type of beast. So you want him to do that, and he's past the whole CM Punk storyline where he was thwarted at every turn by CM Punk, and he ultimately lost that championship after like minutes.
Yeah.
So you
it's
you want Drew to win. So I think depending on what level of chaos you want to see going into WrestleMania season, you pick that person, and I think I want to see Jacob Fatu. I know it won't be Jacob Fatu, but the level of chaos that it would bring it would be really good. It would set up Drew and Jacob to feud a little bit. Cody would still be scrambling. Drew is now in the Royal Rumble, so now we'll have like a season of big men. Not to mention, you've got everybody from the MFTs, you got everybody from the Wyatt family that'll be in there. It's going to be a pretty stacked Royal Rumble. I would not be surprised if Gunther is in there. I don't put it past. I don't put it past Brock Lesnar not showing up. Well, like you said earlier, there'll be probably some WrestleMania surprises, but I think what would be interesting would be Jacob Fatu. What I think will happen is Drew will retain, and it just makes him look more. It makes him look like he's willing to do anything. Jacob looks like he just wants a really good fight with somebody, and Cody can give it to him. And Cody, Cody's just being,
and I like Jacob Fatu just because he's a straight brawler. Like, I mean, and there's not a whole lot of like hidden things about Jacob Fatu. Like, yes, people have known his history and everything else, and honestly, like, to a certain extent, like, he's an overcomer, right? And he doesn't, his character, I feel like, is very genuinely him. I think sometimes, a lot of times, you get characters that they're just kind of a gimmicky thing, and you see Jacob Fatu and how he presents himself. I think I think the majority of his character on WWE is genuinely based on real life.
Yeah.
And so you don't have a lot of like false bravado and false character, that you see And so what you see is what you get with Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know exactly how this is going to pan out, but I will be along for the ride of what they do, because I've said it a million times. I was over Cody being champion. I could, I would love to move on from Cody and let Cody go have some fantasy book matches, and because then there's no title involvement, there's none of that nonsense, and just let him have matches, take some L's, take some dubs, whatever it be. I mean, honestly, I would love to see him run it back with Roman Reigns, honestly.
And maybe that's what we're getting, and we're just taking a very long road to get there.
Yeah.
And
I mean, and sometimes it's more about the journey, not the destination. So, So our next match of the night was the women's tag team championships between Rhea and Io Sky versus Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez, and match didn't disappoint. I thought it showcased a lot of twists and turns. And I'm not mad about it. I think that it had the twist and turns you thought it would have. So my expectations for this match were met, like, fully. And and regardless of a little bit of outside nonsense, like, it was to be expected. So it wasn't like, Raquel getting involved was a surprise, right? Honestly, more of the surprise was the fact that Stephanie Vaquer came out and did what she did to Raquel. And so I look forward to what they do with Stephanie and Raquel moving forward. Obviously, Stephanie was out there without a boot on, so clearly she's fine, literally. And so I think that they've been able to interject their storyline into this, this tag team match, but not overpowering it. And so obviously Rhea Ripley and Io Sky get the win, and like you said before, I feel like this is going to be the narrative that we're going to see for a while, at least going into WrestleMania. Until they, pull out the big boy matches like they do for WrestleMania, and it's 2 nights. So, I mean, there's usually like 6-7 matches a night. So, I mean, there is plenty of space to do something with this. So, and again, we're here for it, man. Like, we got, roughly 2 months to, till WrestleMania. And so, we'll be on the journey, and I hope that it does reach a fever pitch at WrestleMania with the women's tag team division, because it's hot right now.
Yeah, it is. It's
so I strike while the iron's hot. So the next match we got was AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura, and man,
did not disappoint. Very good.
I rarely would say that that a match was a full-blown 5-star match, but this was a 5-star match. You have 2 men that have absolute history, in other promotions, and in this, AJ Styles getting the win didn't diminish Shinsuke one bit. And they put on an absolute bombshell of a match. And obviously, AJ does end up getting the win. But, hats off to the both. I mean, it was a long match, it felt like. And so it was absolutely insane. Now, the main event being Sami Zayn versus Randy Orton, Damian Priest, and Trick Williams to determine to figure out who the number 1 contender would be for Drew McIntyre's championship. And this did not disappoint. Now, the only things that I was a little bit bothered by is, some of the rumor mill stuff, basically, calling their shots, I guess, just because there was a lot of star power. There was a lot of veterans, semi-veterans, and, newcomers like Trick Williams, and, you know, phenomenal match, though, in its entirety, though. And obviously, Sammy does end up getting the win, which is awesome. And so we're going to see Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn at Royal Rumble this weekend. And, I hope they pull the trigger on Sami Zayn being champion. Not that I'm going, and I don't see it, but I wouldn't be against it if it happened. Because Sami Zayn has played the underdog for the half his career. And I think him winning is going to make the crowd absolutely lose their shit. Because,
I think,
if you want to talk about the ultimate underdog and then coming in and beating Drew, or someone screwing Drew, in a manner to where Sami Zayn wins, maybe we see, Jacob Fatu, interrupt in some capacity and help Sammy get the win. I mean, if Sammy wins, it's going to be with assistance, is my point.
Well, who could assist Sammy? Would it be one of the Usos, or could we see a returning Kevin Owens?
I mean, it's nothing's really off the table at this point. So,
yep. But you know what? We've spoken about clean matches tonight, so I want to see a clean win for Sammy. And for Drew, I don't care how he wins, right?
yeah.
So for Sammy, it's got to be clean. It's got to be the right way. It's got to be correct. Sammy clean, Drew any kind of way. But I think Drew leaves there as champion. And Drew drops the title at WrestleMania. That's what I imagine. To whom, I don't know. But I don't see Drew walking out of WrestleMania as champion. The Royal Rumble and any matches in between, yes, they'll keep the title on Drew for a while.
Yeah. So I mean, Royal Rumble, we have basically 4 matches. I had to re-up that, but so we do have 4 matches. We have AJ putting his career on the line versus Gunther, and then we have Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre, and then we have the men and women's Royal Rumble matches. And the men's haven't listed a ton. Literally, I mean, the women's already, half of them are already known, which is legitimately, with the exception of Chelsea Green and Jordan Grace, it's pretty much the whole women's tag team division, which fine with me. Like, I love a good twist, in, having a bunch of tag teams in there and watching, the friendships kind of, take a back seat to winning the Royal Rumble. We literally, that's like the trope of all tropes, is that you see a tag team, in the match, and they're helping each other out, and, and that whole mess. And so, especially with, the current list is Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, which I mean, that could go either way. But then you have, 3 of the Judgment Day being Roxanne Perez, Liv Morgan, and Raquel Rodriguez. And so we could see, some turns in that.
Yep.
Bailey, Lyra Valkyria, that could really go anyway. Asuka, Kelsey Green, Jordan Grace, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax, Lash Legend, and Julia, and then it says 15. So basically, they basically have half the list already. I do hope they have some degree of surprises in the women's side. I definitely think we'll probably see 1 or 2 legends. And maybe a couple NXT. So I mean, they've already released freaking half the thing. So I mean, with a couple legends and some NXT, I mean, that narrows it down to about 5 to 6 possible surprises. So, and then the men's is pretty much wide open at this point.
Yeah,
So
anybody can show up.
and
I would, I would love to be really surprised with some guest entrances. I would like to see some TNA people in there. I would like to see some AAA people. I just throw the entire kitchen sink for the men's side into that match. Don't give me the same old. Give me something that is like, okay, this is wow factor. This is like really exciting.
Yeah, and like, the whole thing with that banner that got released, fuck you, whoever did it. Okay, like,
of course,
because we have very little, secret stuff that happens in surprises. Like, way to ruin it. Okay, because like as soon as that photo got released, the whole freaking WWE universe went fucking nuts, and it's like, and you have to know that it was somebody in freaking Saudi, okay, like some jack in the box was like walking by. And he's like, "Oh, WWE's gonna be here, snap!" And I think it sucks when people really like some of the rumor stuff. Obviously, is pretty tongue in cheek. We already know that. Like, it's not like a big surprise. Like when Cody Rhodes returned, we all knew that was coming. That wasn't a big surprise. But like, I want to have some stuff left to be desired and to be not known. And when they do this stuff, it pisses me off to no end. So again, fuck you to whoever released that photo. But on another note, we have made it through 4 seasons. 104 episodes. And for those of you who have been along for the ride, we appreciate you. And, all of the clips and everything and the love that we've gotten. And we get comments, and I do actually read the comments. I might not reply always, but I do, keep an ear to what you guys are saying. So, but I'm excited that we've, been on this journey of doing this podcast for, just over 2 years. Who'd have thunk that a thought of doing a podcast would eventually get to this? So me and Tim have been ride or die for, over 14 years. And, it was fun to, start this podcast with him and then do a trial and error, and that guy didn't work out, and now we got Frederick, and it's been exciting to do this, and it's fun, and I think that, like, me, you, and Tim basically all have different views of things, and I think that's what makes for a good podcast is to not just I'll be like just a bunch of head shakers and like
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, to be able to have some polite discussions of disagreements of certain things. And so, but season 5 starts next Sunday following the Royal Rumble. So we will have an exuberant amount of things to talk to. We'll probably fast track through Raw and SmackDown and really get to the nitty gritty of the Royal Rumble. So this is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.
Yeah.